Douglas Carswell, success in Clacton, success in Rochester and Strood. Have different issues come up over this short period of time?
Obviously, a lot of the focus here is on local issues, and Tim's a very local guy, born and brought up here. So obviously the issues aren't exactly the same, but overall there's a feeling that we need change, that the big corporate political parties, they've taken places like Thurrock and Aveley for granted for years. We need change. We need local people to stand up and actually start to represent local people.
But to put meat on the bones of that word change, is it just change for the sake of it, or what does the change really mean?
No, things could be so much better. This is a great country. So much about this country has got so much better, apart from the things that are run by politicians, apart from the things that are run by that cosy little clique in Westminster. And I think people have had enough of that. If you look here, look at the difference between what the politicians said here when they wanted votes, the promises they made about not building on Greenbelt, and look at what they do. They tick the box because Eric Pickles says they've got to tick the box. We need change that means that actually if you elect a local councillor who's going to say no to Greenbelt development, they'll stick to their promises. That's the kind of change we need. It may be different promises that they break in different parts of the country, but if you talk to someone here or talk to someone in Clacton, that they would understand immediately the problems that we have here. It's because politicians don't stick to their promises, they treat local people with contempt, and they're not on our side. They don't share our values.
So here in Thurrock there are now 6 local councillors. Over in Harlow there are 5 local UKIP councillors. How can they avoid the mistakes of the past, as you're saying, from Labour and Conservatives, etc.?
One of the big problems with the big corporate parties, it's not because they're necessarily bad people, it's because they're controlled by whips. They have a whipping system. That means that even if you're elected to represent your local community, if you're part of the big established parties, you end up doing what Eric Pickles wants you to do. The thing that's different about UKIP is we don't do whipping like that. We recognise that local people elect representatives to put the community first, and that means you're electing a local man, a guy like Tim. He's going to answer outwardly to the voters. The voters are his whips, not the party bosses in London, and that's what's fundamentally different between our party and the big corporate parties run from Westminster.
And finally, did things in Clacton and Rochester, as you were down there, get dirty at all? Because the things seem to have got a little bit nasty down here in Aveley.
Do you know what? When the big corporate parties, with their candidates imposed from London, start to feel threatened, they start to smear and they start to jeer. Now in Clacton, they tried it, smiled nicely and let the votes do the talking. They tried it in Rochester. They tried this incredibly vitriolic campaign. Again, smear and jeer, we smiled, we let the votes do the talking. Tim's doing exactly the same thing. Local voters are going to have to face a choice. Do they support Tim, a local guy who's part of the community, or the smears and the jeers from a party run from London? I think on Thursday people are going to make the right choice.
Douglas Carswell, thank you very much.